Many women have been conditioned to believe that their greatest virtue is being nice, agreeable, and accommodating. From an early age, they are taught to be polite, to put others before themselves, and to avoid conflict at all costs. They are told that being liked is more important than being respected, that being accepted by others is more valuable than being true to themselves. But the truth is, God never designed you to live for the approval of people. You were created with a unique purpose, a divine assignment that requires boldness, strength, and unwavering faith in who you are. Too many women are trapped in a cycle of pleasing others, saying yes when they mean no, suppressing their true feelings and allowing themselves to be overlooked. They do this in relationships, in the workplace, in their families, and even in ministry. They smile when they are hurting. They agree when they want to object. They shrink themselves to make others feel comfortable. But what they don't realize is that every time they do this, they are trading their destiny for temporary approval. God did not create you to live in the shadows. He did not place you on this earth to be invisible. You are not designed to be a spectator in life. You are called to be a participant, a leader, a voice that carries influence. When a woman understands who she is, she stops living for validation and starts living for purpose. When she knows her identity, she no longer settles for being tolerated. She demands to be respected. The greatest tragedy in life is not death, but a life that never fulfills its purpose. There are too many women buried with untapped potential, unspoken words, and unfulfilled dreams, simply because they spent their lives trying to be nice instead of being bold. The enemy's greatest weapon is not always external opposition. Sometimes it is the internal deception that makes you believe you are not enough. If the enemy can convince you to doubt yourself, to remain silent, to play small, then he has already won. Look at the women in the Bible who changed history. Esther did not save her people by being agreeable. She saved them by stepping into her divine calling with courage. Ruth did not fulfill her destiny by playing it safe. She took a bold step of faith and walked into a new season. Deborah did not lead Israel by waiting for permission. She stepped into her role with confidence and authority. These women were not just nice, they were powerful, decisive, and fearless. And they understood that purpose requires boldness, and they refused to let fear dictate their action. There is a difference between being kind and being a pushover. There is a difference between having a gentle spirit and allowing people to walk all over you. Some of you have been mistaken for being weak because you have chosen to be silent in moments when you should have spoken. You have allowed yourself to be sidelined because you were afraid that standing up for yourself would make you unlikable. But hear me today, you were never called to be liked, you were called to be impactful. The world does not respect weakness, it respects confidence. It respects those who know who they are and refuse to compromise their values. If you keep waiting for permission to be great, you will wait forever. If you keep seeking approval before stepping into your calling, you will never move forward. You must decide today that you will no longer shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain you. You must embrace your God-given identity and walk in the fullness of your purpose. One of the biggest traps the enemy sets for women is the fear of rejection. Many women stay in toxic relationships, remain in unfulfilling jobs, and tolerate mistreatment because they are afraid of being alone. They think that if they assert themselves, people will leave them. They believe that if they set boundaries, they will no longer be loved. But let me tell you something. Any relationship that requires you to diminish yourself is not a relationship worth keeping. Any job that forces you to compromise your values is not a job worth having. Any environment that does not recognize your worth is not an environment you should remain in. You must begin to see yourself the way God sees you. You are not a background character in someone else's story. You are the main character in the life God has given you. You are not a supporting role in someone else's dreams. You have dreams of your own that must be pursued. The moment you realize that your life is not meant to be lived in the service of everyone else's expectations, you will begin to walk in freedom. Stop apologizing for being strong. Stop feeling guilty for saying no. Stop believing that you have to sacrifice your own well-being to make others comfortable. The greatest women in history, both in the Bible and in modern times, were not afraid to stand alone when necessary. They were not afraid to be different, to challenge the status quo, to speak up even when their voices trembled. And because they embraced their true identity, they changed the world. It is time to break free from the mindset that has kept you bound. It is time to let go of the need to be liked and start focusing on being respected. It is time to step into the fullness of who you are without hesitation or fear. The world is waiting for the real you to emerge, the strong, confident, purpose-driven woman God created you to be. Many women go through life settling for less than they deserve, believing that it is noble to endure, to compromise, and to accept whatever is given to them. They tolerate mistreatment, stay in places where they are not valued, and lower their standards, thinking that this is what it means to be humble, to be kind, to be a good person. But there is nothing virtuous about allowing yourself to be diminished. There is no honor in living beneath your potential, in staying in situations that deplete you, in accepting relationships that dishonor you. Too many women mistake endurance for purpose, thinking that if they just hold on long enough, things will change. But the truth is, nothing changes until you decide that you deserve better. Compromise can be a silent killer of destiny. Every time you say yes to something that is beneath your value, you are saying no to the greater things that God has for you. Every time you accept less than what you are worth, you reinforce the idea that you are not worthy of more. Some of you are stuck in places where you do not belong, not because you lack the ability to move forward, but because you have convinced yourself that you are not worthy of more. You have settled into a mindset that tells you to be grateful for whatever you get, even when it drains you, even when it robs you of your joy, even when it makes you question who you are. God never intended for you to live a life of compromise. He never called you to settle. The promises he has for you require you to rise up, to embrace your true worth, to refuse to accept anything that does not align with the purpose he placed inside you. Too often, women remain in toxic relationships because they believe that love requires sacrifice, that being a good partner means tolerating disrespect, that being patient means enduring mistreatment. But love does not require you to suffer. A relationship that forces you to abandon yourself is not a relationship worth keeping. When you know who you are, you will stop begging people to treat you right. You will stop tolerating what does not align with your value. You will walk away from anything that does not serve your purpose. Some of you have stayed in jobs that do not fulfill you because you believe that it is the best you can get. You have told yourself that you should be grateful to have any opportunity, even when it limits your growth, even when it stifles your potential, even when it does not recognize your worth. But you were never meant to live in lack, to survive instead of thrive, to be underpaid, undervalued, and overlooked. When you realize your true worth, you will stop settling for positions that do not challenge you, that do not inspire you, that do not push you toward your destiny. You will begin to demand more, not because you are arrogant, but because you understand the value of what you bring to the table. Settling is a mindset, and breaking free from it requires a shift in the way you see yourself. You cannot expect others to recognize your worth if you do not recognize it. You cannot expect people to treat you with respect if you continue to tolerate disrespect. The way you allow others to treat you is a direct reflection of how you see yourself. If you keep giving discounts on your value, people will keep expecting you to sell yourself short. If you keep saying yes to things that drain you, people will keep expecting you to pour from an empty cup. It is time to stop settling for less than you deserve. It is time to stop allowing fear to keep you bound to places that do not serve your purpose. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being alone. These are the chains that keep so many women stuck in cycles of compromise. But fear is a liar. Fear will tell you that if you walk away from what is hurting you, you will never find better. Fear will tell you that if you set boundaries, people will leave you. Fear will tell you that if you ask for more, you will lose everything. But the truth is, everything you desire is on the other side of fear. Every blessing, every opportunity, every door that you have been praying for is waiting for you to step up, to believe in yourself, to claim what is rightfully yours. You were created for more than just survival. You were created for more than just getting by. You were created to live a life of abundance, of joy, of fulfillment. But you cannot step into that life if you continue to settle. You cannot embrace the fullness of what God has for you if you are still holding on to what is beneath you. Some of you need to make a decision today to walk away from anything that does not align with your worth. You need to stop waiting for permission to live the life you deserve. You need to stop hoping that one day things will change and start making the change yourself. When a woman truly knows her worth, she stops begging for what she deserves. She does not chase love, she attracts it. She does not beg for respect, she commands it. She does not tolerate mistreatment, she walks away from it. Knowing your worth is not about arrogance. It is about recognizing the value that God has placed inside of you and refusing to accept anything that does not honor that value. It is about setting standards, not because you think you are better than anyone else, but because you understand that you were created for something greater. There is a shift that happens when you stop settling. Doors begin to open that were once closed. Opportunities begin to appear that you never thought were possible. People begin to treat you differently, not because they have changed, but because you have changed the way you allow yourself to be treated. The moment you decide that you are worthy of more is the moment that more begins to show up in your life. But the decision has to come from you. No one else can determine your worth for you. No one else can set your standards for you. You have to make the choice to stop accepting less than you deserve. You have to decide that you will no longer tolerate anything that does not align with your purpose. You have to be willing to walk away from anything that does not serve your growth. Too many women spend their lives waiting for someone to tell them they are enough. They wait for validation, for approval, for someone to recognize their value. But the truth is, you do not need anyone else to confirm what God has already placed inside you. You were enough before anyone ever noticed you. You were worthy before anyone ever validated you. You do not need permission to walk in your greatness. You simply need to believe that you are already everything God created you to be. Settling is a choice, and so is rising. You can choose to stay where you are, to keep accepting less, to keep living beneath your potential, or you can choose to rise up, to step into your full worth, to claim everything that God has for you. The choice is yours. Boldness is not arrogance, nor is it aggression. It is the deep conviction that you are created for something greater and the courage to walk in that conviction. Many women have been conditioned to believe that being bold makes them difficult, that speaking up makes them problematic, that standing their ground makes them unlikable, and so they shrink. They suppress their thoughts, silence their voices, and allow others to determine their worth. But the truth is, no one respects what is weak. The world does not make room for those who wait to be noticed. It recognizes those who refuse to be ignored. Look at the women who have changed history. They did not wait for permission to be great. They did not ask if it was okay to take up space, to lead, to challenge the status quo. Esther did not save her people by sitting quietly in the palace, hoping someone else would take action. She risked everything, knowing that boldness was her only option. Deborah did not apologize for her authority. She commanded an army when men were too afraid to step forward. Ruth did not sit in her sorrow after losing her husband. She took a step of faith and walked into her future. These women understood something that too many have forgotten. You cannot fulfill your purpose without boldness. There are women today who have dreams buried inside them, visions that keep them awake at night, a calling that will not let them rest, yet they hesitate. They hesitate because they are afraid of judgment. They hesitate because they fear rejection. They hesitate because they have been taught that boldness is for men, that strength is unfeminine, that leadership makes them undesirable. And so they hold back, they dim their light, they play small, hoping that somehow, one day, they will be given the space to shine. But space is not given, it is taken. No one is going to hand you your destiny. No one is going to step aside and say, here, take your rightful place. You must claim it. You must step forward even when your legs are shaking. You must speak even when your voice trembles. Some of you have spent years waiting for validation, waiting for someone to tell you that you are good enough, smart enough, strong enough. You have waited for a sign, for an open door, for approval from people who will never give it to you. But the truth is, your purpose does not require their permission. Your assignment was given to you by God, and if He called you to it, He has already qualified you for it. Boldness is not about having no fear. It is about moving forward despite it. It is about deciding that you will no longer let fear dictate your actions, that you will no longer let insecurity hold you hostage, that you will no longer be bound by the opinions of others. Some of you are in workplaces where you know you deserve a promotion, but you stay silent, hoping someone will notice your hard work. Some of you are in relationships where you feel unheard, unappreciated, unseen, but you stay hoping things will change. Some of you have ideas, businesses, ministries inside you, but you never act on them because you doubt yourself. But doubt is the enemy of destiny. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you will wait forever. If you keep waiting for someone to give you permission, you will never move. Boldness is a decision. It is the decision to act even when you don't feel ready. To speak even when you are afraid of how you will be received. To move even when the path is uncertain. The women who make an impact in this world are not necessarily the most talented, the most educated, or the most qualified. They are the ones who refuse to be silenced. They are the ones who step up when others step back. They are the ones who refuse to be intimidated by opposition, who refuse to bow to the fear of rejection, who refuse to let obstacles deter them. Boldness is what sets them apart. Some of you have dreams that scare you because they are bigger than anything you have ever done before. You have ideas that feel too ambitious, goals that seem impossible. But let me tell you something. If your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. If your vision doesn't stretch you beyond your comfort zone, it's not from God. God does not call you to small things. He calls you to greatness, to impact, to influence. And the only way to step into that is through boldness. You must stop worrying about what people will think. Some will misunderstand you. Some will call you too much, too ambitious, too strong, too independent. But that is not your problem. Your assignment is not to make people comfortable. It is to fulfill your purpose. Your assignment is not to fit into the expectations of others. It is to walk in what you were created to do. Some of you need to start speaking up. You need to stop letting people talk over you, dismiss you, overlook you. You need to assert yourself in that meeting. Share your ideas with confidence. Advocate for yourself without apologizing. Some of you need to start setting boundaries. You have let people take advantage of your kindness, mistreat you, disrespect you, and you have allowed it because you didn't want to seem difficult. But you are not here to make everyone happy. You are here to be effective. You are here to walk in purpose. And if that means disappointing some people, so be it. Some of you need to start taking risks. You have played it safe for too long, staying in your comfort zone, avoiding anything that feels uncertain. But purpose requires risk. You will never accomplish anything great if you are afraid to step out. You will never fulfill your destiny if you are unwilling to move forward without guarantees. Boldness is trusting that God has already gone ahead of you, that He has already made a way, that He has already equipped you for the journey. Fear is a liar. It tells you that you are not enough, that you are not ready, that you will fail. But fear only has power over you if you listen to it. The moment you decide to move despite fear, it loses its grip on you. The moment you step out in faith, doors begin to open, opportunities begin to appear, resources begin to flow. But you must take the first step. It is time to stop hesitating. It is time to stop waiting for a sign, for approval, for someone else to give you permission. You must give yourself permission. You must decide that you are worthy, that you are capable, that you are ready. Because the truth is, you were born ready. Everything you need is already inside you. The gifts, the wisdom, the strength, it is all there. You just need to activate it. You need to stop second guessing yourself and start believing that you were created for something greater. Nothing changes until you decide to change. Nothing moves until you decide to move. Nothing shifts until you decide that you will no longer settle for less than you deserve. The time for waiting is over. The time for shrinking is over. The time for playing small is over. You were called to more, and it is time to walk in it. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you cultivate. Too many women spend years waiting to feel ready, waiting for the fear to disappear, waiting for the perfect moment to step into their purpose. But confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. It is the ability to stand tall even when uncertainty surrounds you. To walk boldly even when doubt whispers in your ear. To trust in your own worth even when others do not see it. The problem is that many women have been conditioned to believe that confidence is arrogance, that self-assurance is pride, that knowing your worth is selfish. And so they suppress their strength, they downplay their abilities, they shrink themselves to fit into spaces that were never meant to contain them. But you cannot fulfill your purpose if you keep apologizing for who you are. You cannot rise to the level you were created for if you keep making yourself small to make others comfortable. You cannot lead if you're afraid of being seen. Confidence begins with the way you see yourself. If you do not believe in your own worth, no one else will. If you do not see yourself as capable, the world will not either. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you assert yourself, it all reflects what you believe about yourself. Some of you have been playing small for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to stand in your full power. You have silenced your voice for so long that you no longer recognize the authority within you. You have allowed doubt to dictate your decisions, fear to shape your future, insecurity to limit your potential. But the moment you decide to reclaim your confidence, everything changes. Doors open that were once closed. Opportunities appear that once seemed impossible. People begin to take notice, not because you are doing something different, but because you are showing up differently.